Hey folks, welcome back. I finally have some form of an actual setup. The room is in its first iteration of being, and I'm just coming to now learn, like at the moment the lighting is behind me, which is a little bit challenging, but we'll see how I get on. But I'm just learning about the lighting and my new space and all of those kind of unimportant behind the scenes things that impact taking photos, doing videos, making content online, and then of course get used to my actual altar space and witch room in general, which is a process in and of itself. But as you can see, my altar is set up in its first iteration and I'm finally able to sit at it. And of course, the day that I'm finally done, for the most part, I get my parcel finally arrive, which is exciting. It's not the first parcel I've got to the new address, because I actually won a secondary place surprise giveaway by Skin and Bone, I want to say is his tag name. He's actually the person who gifted me my badger skull, which is on a bookshelf next to me, and he did a massive giveaway for reaching a certain amount of followers. He's a really lovely human being, and he did a secondary place and he sent me some bones and bits and pieces, some of which I actually have on my altar right in reach. So there's a couple of other bits. So they were my first parcel, and I didn't unbox them on this because I didn't know what they were. I just thought, what's this? And then I remembered once I opened them. But I have this to open, so let me do the thing where we cover the address. Dun, dun, dun. Does any of this give it away? Does it give it away? Can you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is? This is a great distraction. I'm unboxing, so as I unbox it quickly, I'll just update you. I am now 4.5 weeks post-surgery and I'm still bleeding, so I have to go and have another checkup next week, hopefully. This is very dependent on whether my period comes or not, which is really fucking sporadic thanks to my endometriosis. So there's a lot of information for you at once. But hey Vicar, oh thank you. It's lovely to have you here and to be set up as well. So yeah, because I've been bleeding for so long and having pain and doing lots of things that my body genuinely can't do on an any day basis, let alone for a whole month. And after surgery, it's been quite the process, and I just wanted to sit down and do something that was fun, basically. Oh, this is going to take that recycle sticker out. No. Oh well, the recycle sticker sadly got... it met its end because of how the box opened. So... ta-da! Some people will be looking at this going, this still doesn't make any sense to me, but it's okay. So I will adjust the camera in a minute as well. This is the 3 trees pre-order for the Oracle, which I didn't know if I was going to get or not going to lie. And then... oh wow, they're always super recyclable, by the way. So I opened it to... I should have showed you the unboxing. Let me put it back quickly. Why am I doing that part off camera? So, oh yay Heather, I'd be really intrigued to hear how you get on with it now that you're going from your not having animal decks to having more animal decks. I'm sure that you were one of the people that said that, although I can't remember, because I remember you and I want to say Julie in particular talking about the animal deck thing, whereas I don't think it was Sarah. Speak of Julie, and she doth appear. Hello. Exciting, I'm so excited. I did get my Free Trees tarot out. It's here just because I wanted to look at them together, although that's not really why I got it. Yeah, that was used. I thought so. So I'll be really intrigued in particular, because we all know I'm an animal deck person, right? So it's a bit on the nose for me. But I didn't know if I would get it or not. For anyone who's curious, just a quick catch up, I guess. The 𝗤𝗂𝗁𝗀 tarot is the one of 2 tarots that they do, but the only one that I have. And the reason that I got this, I already have some very 𝗪𝗿𝗺𝗀𝗁𝗀𝗴𝗁 animal decks, but it reminds me of a childhood film that I really loved called Animals of the Farthing Woods. And I love foxes. We've seen the fox set up on my altar. And I had a really big affinity to what was actually quite a harrowing cartoon, but very realistic, good for ecological, environmental and sort of just nature-based learning, back when they could put a bit more brutality in children's programs. But anyway, it reminded me of that, and it reads really well from this place of nostalgia for me. And then, yeah, what's really funny is my friend Logan, old bestie over at Lark and Legend, really psychs me up for this. And I don't think he backed it in the end, but he got me excited, and we backed it for my birthday, which was in August, and it has finally arrived. So it came with this thank you card. Oh, it's got a dragon on the back. So cute. And a snail. If you didn't know, I used to own giant African land snails, so big fan of snails. Always been in love with dragons. I just can't warrant buying. This was obviously a birthday gift. I can't warrant buying stuff, so that's why I don't have their dragon deck. But this is very cute as well, with a little mousey. It's a door knocker, and it says, oh, coming soon. I am signed up to their mailing list. I am signed up. I forgot I signed up, and then I signed up on my other email address. So I'm signed up on my personal and my business. And this is a salutations, blah, blah, blah. So I would read it, but I don't want to spoil that part. So then it came like this. Look. I'm assuming this is something to do with the certificate. I know they're really into certificates of authentication. I genuinely don't know what that is. And then we've got all the squigglies, and then the deck is in here. So I wanted to show you before. Oh, of course I was going to knock it. That's just watching one of my videos live. Like I said, filming here is an adjustment in and of itself. So let's have a look at what this is first. I do enjoy a good unboxing. Oh, goodies. Oh, my partner will be pleased. There's sweeties in here. Oh, I do love, this filter is changing one of the colours, which is, I always try and find a filter that is enjoyable, but also helps me with like colour and contrast. And there's always one colour that's not the same. So this looks really orangey red on here, whereas it's really like scarlet red in real life. But nevertheless, this is freaking stunning. I want to say it's a swallow. Talisman going straight on the altar. We're going to put it there for the time being till we find its place. This is one of the cards from the 𝗤𝗂𝗁𝗀, and it looks like, yes, it's a sticker. I love stickers. Right, is this the... There it is. Do you know what I love about this? She chooses the date based on something which she did tell us, she being Stephanie, and I've forgotten, but this is my birthday. So the 19th of August is my birthday, and I loved that my birthday present, even though it came the year after, and obviously after my birthday, has this date on it. because I'm a giant child and I enjoy things like that. And it's got a fox on the back. Their foxes really are what got me in the first place. I'm really not gonna lie. It was that simple. Oh, fun! So we've got a mirror, which I'm not turning around because I look like shite. And we've got a badge with a little hedge pig. And then we've got sweeties, which are going straight to my partner. This box is so cute with the little dragon in the acorn. I need to do something with that. That's actually really sweet that they added those little extras. This paper, which is why I showed people the sticker at the beginning, is one of the telltale signs that it's their stuff. So that's why, if anyone's wondering. And I always keep this and use it to send either something I've gifted to someone or something I've sold, basically. So I've still got some of the white paper left over from my 𝗳𝗂𝗁𝗃. Oh, I wondered what the box was going to look like. I know that they stopped doing because this is the Kickstarter edition. So it was, I think that they did a reprint. No differences except from the box as far as I'm aware. But I don't think the box has like a sleeve on it anymore. I think they just changed the design a little bit, made the bottom a bit, I think they said sturdier. I don't know. I don't really have any issues with it. But so this is embossed in like one of my favourite green colours ever. It's like olivey. Volume 4. And then just their press information, which is pretty cool. And it's also really novel for me to get a UK deck because that Heather can attest, this rarely happens. It's not often that we get something local, which is lovely. So it's kind of exciting to be able to get in on those pre-orders or very occasionally Kickstarters or whatever they are and sort of join in the process. One of which, thanks to Brexit and the economy and stuff, isn't something we can always join in with on Kickstarter nowadays either. So here are the backs, and they've got, of course, thistles and foxes. And then we've got a spare card. I wonder if the back's a spare one as well. Yes, it is so common. And I know it's a small thing, and sometimes the damage is not, so tiny it doesn't matter because decks get wear and tear over time. But it's so common for the front and the back card in decks, historically, to get damaged. So this is such a good idea. And then we've got an introduction card, which is about supporting them and how you can get involved. And then back here, as part of an extension of being eco-friendly, they do a PDF guidebook, which is the same with a tarot, and I would imagine same with the dragon version of their tarot as well. Ash Embers? Oh, I can't remember. And then they do these 2 cards, or sometimes more, perhaps with a tarot, with the keywords on. So they're trying not to waste paper where possible, basically. They're incredibly eco-friendly. It's really admirable, really impressive. And another one of the reasons that I ended up going for the deck originally, even though I was like, nostalgia, but I don't need any decks, but I definitely didn't need another animal one. So one of the things that I was impressed about this, and I'm not going to be the first person to say this, is that the keywords met with the depictions feel a little bit more expressive for me than they do in some other animal decks, especially because I have a lot of animal oracles. I've passed on a lot as well, so I don't just love them all. And you get ones without keywords, and I don't it's funny, I don't really expect them to then express the keyword because they don't have them. Then you get the ones that do, but the animal's just kind of present on them. I don't hate that. I've got some where they are my absolute favourites still. But there's something about these where it's a bit more emotion, in motion, not emotion. The colours perhaps a little bit more suggestive at points. You know, those kind of things. That was one of the things that I noticed. The Smoke, Ash and Embers, there we go. And it has a PDF. Thank you for confirming, 𝗵𝘂𝗧. So let's get into it. I think the cardstock is the same. It does feel a little bit different to the fronts of mine. I can't decide. I'll get the other one out at the end. And the only other difference between this and the tarot and this and perhaps some of my other decks is that it has the dragons in it, so it does have that mythical aspect as well. Dependent on the deck, depends on how okay I am with that, but I'm cool with it. So we've got acknowledgement, and they're like looking up to something and the light shining down, which does give me a bit of a like moment. And some interesting layers of things that I struggle with, like I don't always want to be looking for acknowledgement because I've placed someone higher than me. So that could be an interesting undertone if this come up as like a blocked card or something. But also I do find it quite sweet, and it does really, it gives me the right vibe, you know. It hones in on it. I shouldn't talk about all of them this much because we will be here forever. And this is genuinely the first time, as you saw, with me having it in hand, so I'm just kind of excited. Awareness for hedgehog. And the first thought here is like the when I go into the garden and I listen to leaves being swished around and that whole really sense-based crunching underfoot, rustling through the trees, flowing through the air, falling to the floor and like making a new dusting across the floor, all of those sounds. And that to me is like an aspect of our awareness. It's a process of mindfulness, so I like that. The artwork, by the way, Adam is just chef's kiss. I freaking love his artwork. He is the reason that I have like a new wish list thing now, which you can have public, which people were telling me to make for ages. And I didn't want to have an Amazon one and just have everyone and anyone have my address. So I found a new place and I put the soul cats on there. I don't like the premise of soul cats based on what someone told me that they mean, but I love the artwork, so I would use it. So balance. Oh, look at the butterflies on this beautiful, I want to say hare, but wild rabbits, whilst a lot smaller, do have kind of a hare-like vibe to them, but this still looks like a hare to me. And then balancing the stones on its head. I mean, there's something about balance and teamwork to be said for there. We've got bravery. Oh, look at them greeting the little frog. And they're teeny tiny, so it might be the first time that they've ever seen a frog. Which is interesting because perhaps someone might see it from the other perspective, like, oh, it's the first time the frog is... And they're like, what the hell is this giant creature? And that reminds me, aside from the dragons, these are animals that I am familiar with as well, because again, it's my region, so that's another like really tasty, extra fun bit for me that's, you know, quite indulgent in an animal deck. I mean, I could wax lyrically for ages. Their eyelashes alone. Animals always have the best eyelashes. Is it weird that I've noticed that? And then we've got calm. I don't know if this is a Shetland pony, but it reminds me of... I can't remember if it was my nan's or my nan's neighbour. My nan had so many freaking animals. So I remember a Shetland pony being around for a while. But it was at a period of time when I had just been left by my mum. So it's very hazy for me. And unfortunately, I don't know if it was hers or our neighbour's. But... Nevertheless, there was a Shetland pony. It gives me those vibes. And they in particular, I don't know, they can be quite feisty, but there is something about them. Them and cows, they have this very still, these moments where they're just so freaking still. And then one of my bestie baddies, I love magpies. Celebration, look at them with their nicky knacks and their treats, and magpies are often chitter-chatting and doing things together, so I love that as well. Also, do you remember throwing these through the air as a kid? The little helicopter seeds? Such fun. Community. So we've got the dragons with all of the others, and there's a nice card like this that's a additional card or something in my 𝗬𝗂𝗁𝗀𝗺, which is very cool. There are so many details on this as well that I feel that different things are going to stand out at different points, and because I don't want this to last forever and bore people, I will definitely notice things later on. Hi, 𝗪𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 contented. Look at their little fuzzy face. I really like that as well, like the posture and the life that's breathed into the body language. And so not just the environment and the elements, which are very present, but the animals have real presence in Adam's artwork a lot of the time. And the eyes, like I can feel the moment, if that makes sense. Control. This was on my authenticity card, no? I'm pretty sure it was. Very, very cute. Look. And so have they taken control, or have they lost control? Which is an interesting, question, and I suppose consideration of the polarities and perspectives of what's going on here. It also reminds me of this discussion. Someone said to me the other day, like, you watch a lot of moon films, but you don't really like people travelling to the moon like in reality or whatever. And I was saying that the interesting thing about people wanting to travel to the moon or space, the bit that turns me off is the desire to control something else. We wanted to control and take over the world. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And take control of nature. And of course, it's all a fallacy anyway. We don't really get control. We either damage it or we think we've got control when we don't. So, yeah, it kind of brought that conversation to mind as well. The owl was adorable, wasn't it, Julie? And the curiosity with the spider, and it is it's a jumping spider. And they did a whole discussion about this and why they included it. I'm really glad that they did. I had mixed feelings about them needing to do a whole discussion about it. I think it was really lovely to hear it, and I appreciate that their arachnophobia is a particularly common animal phobia. But I think in an animal deck, it would be a shame to leave it out because it's a phobia, because then it ends up being an animal that's left out, or it's only put in when they're using the sort of the folklore, which is like often with spiders, sometimes the scarier, darker aspects. And so it doesn't really flesh out the facets of that animal in its fullness, if that makes sense. And I'm a big believer of respecting people's triggers and people's boundaries when we know them. And also as a therapist, I know that we can't know everyone's. We can never avoid everyone's and every single topic. We can only deal with them as they come up and where we are made aware. So it's an interesting concept for me, but I did enjoy learning about it, and I do think that it's a lovely way to introduce people to spiders who do have a phobia. Heather's a great example. There we go. I'm terrified of spiders, but this one is one of my favourites. It looks like Lucas the spider. It's so cute, isn't it? It's so cute. Have you noticed jumping spiders are becoming a really popular pet at the moment? Just a side note on my spider rambles. Then we've got darkness. What I like about this is it doesn't feel to me as foreboding as darkness is sometimes depicted, and darkness is necessary and nourishing as well as all of the other things that it can be. And I feel like this card will encapsulate those layers better, and therefore you can either project onto it or go based on the surrounding cards, question, etc. It's definitely different card stock, isn't it? It's slightly, I want to say more matte. I don't know how to explain it. Not to be confused with rose petal. It's not sticky. I like the size, by the way. I'll do the size thing at the end, but it's slightly smaller than a tarot deck. It might be the same width, but it's slightly shorter. At least that's my guess. Then we've got Dawn with the dragonflies. Oh, look. I'm loving the inclusion, appreciating the inclusion of animals. Got a nice variety going already. Decision, we've got the pathways here. I love this. This reminds me of the Two of Wands in the 𝗪𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀. I think I've got the name right. 𝗪𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀, which was by Devlin Strickland. I can't remember her last name now, but I like that the way it's set out. Dreams. Look at them. So we've got a dragon, and then we've got a flying squirrel, because they've got wings in their dreams. Different kind of flying squirrel. This one's wings look kind of pigeony, which I'm digging. I'm here for it. We've got explore with the little mousey and the ladybird. I love that. Ladybird was our animal gnosis for August, and I, as always is the way with me, I ended up tending to a 7-spotted ladybird for 2 days until it regained its strength and could fly away and was warm enough. So that was an experience. Ferocity. And we've got this little wolf. It's giving me wolf cub vibes. I don't know for definite, but it's definitely giving me wolf cub vibes. And the lightning, which is ferocious in itself, but an interesting ferocity, right? It can stimulate growth as well as obvious destruction capabilities. So here, just as an example, by the by, it says speak truth to power, which they're definitely doing. They're howling into their power. I love that. Friendship. And we've got a very cute bat here. This looks like the same species as I've got on my wallpaper on my phone. And then a bird. I do believe the PDF, of which I should have on my computer and I should have brought over here, tells you all of the species of the animals as well, which I appreciate. Grief. Oh, look at grief with the tortoise and all of the decay going on, but then the growth as well, and the grief of getting older, or your body just feeling like it's old, which is a mood. But I love that there's space for grief. I feel like that's what the light and the woodlands is doing as well. In fact, for me, the woodlands, and I know it probably sounds really cliche, but it is how it is. Maybe it's cliche for a reason. Even since I was little, going in the woodlands, forests, whatever you want to call them, always felt like I was being invited to take space up with my grief and some of my other emotions that were perhaps less appreciated or less welcomed by other people. Oh, this is the picture on the little boxy. So this is our little acorn dragon, and it's at guardedness, which is cute. It's not acorn, conker. Don't mind me. That's what we call them over here. Although I never see conkers anymore. It's so disappointing. Used to find them, peel them out of the spikes when the time was right, and then drill a little hole bit through them, put a bit of string in, and do conker fighting on string. I'm showing my age a lot, but guidance from our mouse. And I feel like we've had different varieties of mice so far. Like, one of them looked very field mousey. This one looks like a different variety. This one's got a little crystal stash. Are they a mouse mystic? Is this a mouse mystic? I think it is. I think it is. I dig. There's a little bit of fantasy magic, gently, and I know you'd think it was on the nose because of the dragons, but it's not. There's a little bit of fantasy magic gently whispered into an otherwise very everyday nature magic, which is fucking powerful as it is, but it's an interesting blend. I like it. There's something that like tickles everything from the child to the adult, like, and back. It like reverberates. It's nice. So we've got Haven, and again, Adam's use of lighting is just lighting, space, eye direction, all very clever. Individuality, finally, celebration of the moth. This is something else that I spoke about in Patreon last month, actually. Not to harp on about it, but aside from moving and surgery, that's basically what I did. It was Patreon. It's really interesting about how certain animals are uplifted and others aren't. So some of the examples, even though they fall in either the same species or they share like a similar kind of subspecies, those kind of things. So you've got doves and pigeons, same thing, just some variations between colour and sizing and patterning. And then obviously not exactly the same thing, but moths and butterflies. And you have, like, 'cause some people say, oh yeah, moths are boring and they're not colourful. Firstly, I like all moths, but secondly, you get some really colourful ones and you get daytime moths. So it's really interesting to explore the concept of why we may be drawn to or uplift or appreciate one and not the other. I really like to get into those topics because I'm a nerd. Intrigue, which is perfect for the otter, and look, they're like, look at this coin, what is it? And this is why my cat reminds me of an otter. She's sort of ottery around the front of her face. A lot of people just see the leopard where she's a Bengal and they're like, leopard spots, but she's very ottery, but also she has a very what is it kind of nature. She has to sniff everything you're eating. She doesn't want it, she just has to sniff it. She is perpetually intrigued, other than when she's napping. We've got kindness. Oh, look. This reminds me of the butterflies that I'm seeing now as they get older and, you know, they come to the end of their lifespan, and you start to notice that their wings are quite tattered. They're not meant, their wings, for a long lifespan, so you really start to notice it, and it is heartbreaking and obviously part of nature. And so they've added it to the dragon, and then this hare or rabbit, I still want to say hare. I love the heads touching at that part. If anyone's ever done that to you and you don't mind that kind of closeness, there's something about it. And you can see the otterness, Vicar. I love it because I know you really like otters. So this one, we've got knowledge. This is freaking stunning. I haven't made any critiques, so I will make one based on the fact that it's something that popped into my head, but it's not really a critique, it's just an I wish. I wish that this was zoomed out just a fraction more, because where it's cut off is so close to its head and the end of its tail feathers. But it's one of my favourite drawings so far. This is fucking gorgeous and really apt because corvids across their species. So corvids are things like rooks and crows and ravens. This looks like a crow. Magpies, jays. I've forgotten one. Magpies, jays, rooks, crows, ravens. There's another black one that I've forgotten the name of that has the lighter eyes. It will come back to me. They're all really, really intelligent, at least the way that we mark animals' intelligence. Their capacity to like problem solve and things like that has been observed and tested a lot. and it's really fascinating. They're really good for remembering human faces as well. So yeah, I love that. Raven wasn't the one I'd forgotten. What is it? There's another. There's like rooks are black, ravens are black, crows are black, and then there's another fully black one before we get into like the mixing of colours. Jackdaw, thank you, Heather. That was going to itch my like brain worms for ages otherwise. Jackdaws. There we go. Thank you. I have closure now. Then we've got light. So we had light, darkness and dawn. I wonder if we'll have dusk. We won't, because we've gone through alphabetically. Did we have dusk? Did I not pay attention? We didn't. I would have liked dusk. That would have been awesome, but it's not going to have any impact on my using the deck at all. Listen. Yes. I like to listen to the songbirds, or just any birds actually. I don't know why I'm saying songbirds. I rejoice in any bird noise. I am that weirdo. I'm like, brilliant, they're making noises. And it's really funny because I can't remember who said it years ago. I think it was a comedian. Everyone's like, oh, the birds are singing. And someone was like, they are technically singing in that they're songbirds, but what they're saying can sometimes be really territorial. And so whilst we sit there and like meditate or dwell in the ambience of like, or whatever, they're going, fuck you, this is my house, get off my territory. And I was like, I really enjoy that concept. I'm here for it. We've got look up. And it is a moment when a feather just falls from the sky randomly into my hand or my feet. Much, much more delightful than when it's bird poop, although I have both experiences. I like the concept of that. Making space, yes. Making space for people to join in as well. Like, this gives me the discussion of like what it actually means to have diversity in that they're not the same. You don't have like equality, within diversity is not treating everyone the same in such a simplified manner, but it's creating the same opportunities and a lot of other things, you know, because if I treat someone's accessibility needs exactly the same as someone else's, then it's not equality because I'm missing the point, kind of thing. That was my first initial where my brain went. Memory. There seems like there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this one, and this bird feels like the Fae have been around and decorated it and then ran off. Or maybe it's a Fae shapeshifter. Thoughts and musings. Then we've got moving forward. Look at these little snail families with their little leaf and acorn backpacks. Oh, this one is giving me autumnal vibes, which the tarot deck does as well, just visually, as there are all seasons and weathers and stuff in it that I'm familiar with, the same for this, but the dominant one tends to feel very autumnal. So, what a season to be getting it in, although we're having a bit of a heat wave at the moment. Navigation and a red squirrel. Love to see them. Never seen one in real life still. Not that I don't like the greys. I just like to see a red one. Opportunity. I miss my brambles in the old garden. And look at these. Nummy nummy. And they're like, oh, if I could only reach a little bit further. And we got strawbs in this one, and patience. I'm loving all the various like mice and voles and stuff. That's another thing about this deck, because I suppose it's got that nice blend of, you could do animal folklore, animal behaviour, magical animal stuff, personal animal stuff. It's not so solely based on people having animal knowledge up front, which of course I have because it's a passion of mine, but not everyone does. So it's quite an accessible animal deck in that way, and it still feels like it's honoured them really beautifully. Pause with the badger, a European badger, of course, because I know the American ones look quite a bit different. Badger was your first English word you could say. I love that, Vicar. What a great first word. That's so fascinating. My first Spanish word was cat, actually, as far as I'm aware. That's what I was told anyway. And no, I can't remember a lot of the Spanish because I lived there when I was younger, and yeah, won't bore you with all my trauma stories, but needless to say, we wasn't there for long, and it wasn't kept up because I wasn't with the people who spoke Spanish anymore. Planning. This is the only one that stood out to me. This was one of the ones I remembered seeing because it makes me feel claustrophobic for them that they've got it round their neck and it's so big and it's so unanimal. I like it. It's cute in that, like, I can imagine them as like a little pilot and they've got their navigation compass and I can hear them doing like the voice and stuff. But as someone who doesn't like things to be too tight around their neck, and that historically birds tend to get things caught around their neck from shitty human litter, if I could have made it looser perhaps or smaller, but I do still love it, and it is me just being weird. Protection. Of course we have this glorious stag. Yes, it is. You are correct, Vicar. And I don't know if it was definitely my first word in French, but it was one of my earlier ones and one of my favourites as well. The big cat person over here. Happy to share. I enjoyed the badger thing. I think that was glorious. Re-energize, and we've got the little bumblebee and the flower. Yes, nomming up all the pollen. I love them. We've got another fox. Again, we see repeats of animals because it's not that type of animal oracle in that you get one of like as many species as possible, and that was another reason that kind of broke it up and made it stand out from some of my other oracle decks enough to think I risk it for a biscuit. Actually, I'm feeling even more enamoured with this than I thought I was going to. I knew I'd like the artwork and that I could work with the keywords, but actually doing this is really making me vibe hard. However, I have just looked at the time and I need to start getting ready soon, so we're going to move a little faster. So we've got release. Oh shit, look. There's like... It's interesting, isn't it? Release. And what are they releasing? Is this like one of their ghosts from the past that they're finally untethering themselves from? So it will actually move into the past and not be something that still lives in the present moment. Because that's sort of how I see us cutting ourselves loose from things. Because memory tends to exist and experience tends to shape us. But being able to shift it from having present power over our nervous system to being in our past is really, really just nourishing when possible. Resourcefulness. And so this twee little dragon is using an acorn cup to capture the water. I love it. And then we've got... I want to say a stoat, but again, you've got like stoats, pine martins, and weasels and other things. And I can't remember what one this is. It looks like a stoat to me, but purely because that's the only one I've held in my hands in the wild as I rescued it from two of our cats. And then it musked all of us and it stunk. It was super strength. I was so impressed. It was such a tiny stoat. It was this exact colour with a little bit of white under its neck. Tiny little thing. It was definitely a juvenile. It did get to live another day. It was 2 of my mum's cats, and they never got on or hung out much. They coexisted fine. They didn't beat each other up, but they just weren't friends. And when I saw them out in the garden, this says rest, by the way, we'll continue. When I saw them out in the garden teaming up together, I knew something strange was afoot. And so they gave themselves away. Hello, stranger. Thank you. It did. I'm very stressed and tired, but it did. We are moved, which is great and timely that the safety card comes up. I keep saying to people, like, I'm really going for a grieving adjustment period, and sometimes that gets confused for like lack of appreciation or gratitude, and that's definitely, like, I feel very lucky that we found another place to rent, and very quickly, and was able to, and all of that good stuff. And then we have Seeking Magic, and we have this thistle lit up like a little lantern. I love it. Serenity with the swan, very fitting. Over here we commonly associate swans with serenity and grace and other keywords. There's a lot of folklore links to it. There's some royal aspects that were linked to it. I think that they just look very serene, but also they kick ass. Like, you do not mess with swans. So I really appreciate that this animal that's so freaking powerful and holds its space so well is, like, managed to be associated with serenity. Although, again, that's a very human thing of us to do, but I like it. Yes, we got Snaky Snake. Snake is another one I want to bring into people's lives and into their hearts. The snake. Look at them. The puppies of the reptiles. Snake. Shelter under the little shroomy. Love it. Silver Linings. This one reminds me a bit, perhaps, of the first one. Like I said, I am freaking loving this deck. Not many, like, grumbles, but that's a bit too... I would have liked them to have at least perhaps... Oh, I was going to say faced in another position, but then we've got this one, Warmth. Yeah, I would have perhaps liked a different colour dragon / background, but whilst it's not like I can't tell the difference, and they are different artworks, different weathers as well, and different energy. So they all walk for me, they all work for me. But if I was to get all 3 of these at once, although it's highly unlikely, I'd just be pulling, you know, this is going to get used with other decks. Probably tarot, but at least other oracles. Like, it's not the kind that I would just pull 3 cards from and then be done on its own, because it's individual keywords, and it's, yeah, I need something usually to flesh it. But yeah, I did notice it made me think of the other one straight away, but I like the keywords. Silver Linings, I mean, if someone had said that to me when I was having a really bad time, I may have wanted to headbutt them, to be fair. Warmth, the power of the dragon, and look at the little buns. And there's still some flowers here too. It's hard sometimes to let go. Oh, it's jumped up 1 second. Let go of memories and such, moving. Yeah, yes. And I was someone who has moved lots. I've lived in more houses than I can even count at this stage. And that was the longest I'd ever lived somewhere, and the most stable and still that I have been in my 35 years. And we were there 9 years. So it was like, finally I got a taste of this thing that I'd wanted for so long. So it was quite a strange and unexpected layer of extra grief of, like, returning to move in, because it was enforced upon us as well. Like, it wasn't a choice. And I think that's the difference as well. And so that's, oh, okay, warmth is the last official keyword card. And then there are 3 additional cards. This is interesting because, you know, they had like a dusk. They had a dawn, sorry. They have a light and darkness and then a dawn but no dusk. These could really work as dusk and dawn still anyway. But it then does mean you've got 2 dawn cards. Also night and day, although we're really then getting into like somatics with the, you know, night and day aren't as liminal as dawn and dusk, but it still works. But then there's a very kind of, I wanted to say summer, but I don't know, it's kind of got autumnal colouring, springy vibes, but it does, that the polarities, you know, they kind of work there, but it's giving me mostly night and day vibes. And then of course the thing that inspired it all, the thistle. So what did you think? I have to be very quick, but I will get out this because I said I would. I want to, I'm a very tactile person, so the slightest difference does, I can't work out if it's ever so slightly different, which is my guess, just ever so slightly. It's a bit thinner as well, which is not a bad thing at all, because it's not thin by any means. The finish feels ever so slightly different, but it could just be that it's thinner and that this has been used, so that slight layer of like grainy friction that I'm feeling on this has worn off of this, because they sound the same. So here is the example. Like I said, they do this with the cards, which is very cool, and then you can go and get the PDFs. And so here it is. Let's, with, should we get a keyword one? Now, I don't know that how much I'll use the 2 together, or whether I'll use them with other decks entirely. Like, I use this already with a lot of other decks. This looks really nice with the Woodland Warden's Oracle. I can never say that fast. Of course they're going to look delicious together. Originally, I was like, oh, I wish it had borders. But if I do want to use them together, I'm actually glad it doesn't, because it breaks them up, and otherwise they would have all looked exactly the same. And that's one of the reasons I tend to now mix deck creators. I might still have their tarot and oracle, because that's something I do a lot. I have a lot of Black and the Moon tarot and oracles. Skull Garden, I have both of. Leela and Olive. But I don't necessarily just use the 2 together. I tend to intermingle them. And so I do think that this actually makes me feel more inclined to use them together. And of course, we're seeing similar animals, so it's very complementary in that way. The font and the bottom is different, but again, it's not really a deal breaker for me, and it does make them feel a tad different. So that is the decks together, my friends. Thank you for being here for this unboxing. It was very, very exciting and luxurious for me, because yeah, I just want to return to some normality, and as my body is refusing to for the time being, and I await another hospital appointment, I at least could do something like this today. I feel like it was a very good birthday gift. It was a good decision. And I'm glad that Logan got me all excited about it, even though he didn't then back it. Which I'm not going to let him forget, but mainly because I think I'm funny. Very happy with that. Like, very, very, very happy, actually. Far more feeling the vibe than I thought I was going to. It's in immaculate condition, which is always good. And yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to thank everyone who either lurked or joined in. It was lovely to have some of you here. this will be up for replay, and hopefully I will be in and out of the social spheres a tiny bit more, although perhaps less on Instagram at the moment for a while, but maybe I'll do a post about that. Not because I don't want to be, just because, you know, I have a lot going on still. I definitely underestimated how much and the impacts on my body, and of course I run 2 small businesses, so they kind of get a lot of my spare attention. But thank you, and bye for now.